Hello, church. So here is our devotional for Tuesday, May 5th. Today we conclude Proverbs 29. We've done this in three parts. Some very appropriate and challenging reflection and critique from Van Leeuwen in the New Interpreter's Bible, and just some fun stuff to share. So we'll go ahead and jump into that. We've been doing 9-verse sections, and so today we begin with verse 19. By mere words, servants are not disciplined, for though they understand, they will not give heed. Do you see someone who is hasty in speech? There is more hope for a fool than anyone like that. A slave pampered from childhood will come to a bad end. One given to anger stirs up strife, and the hothead causes much transgression. A person's pride will bring humiliation, but one who is lowly in spirit will obtain honor. To be a partner of a thief is to hate one's own life. One hears the victim's curse, but discloses nothing. The fear of others lays a snare, but one who trusts in the Lord is secure. Many seek the favor of a ruler, but it is from the Lord that one gets justice. The unjust are an abomination to the righteous, but the upright are an abomination to the wicked. And that verse, the concluding one of verse 27, is actually going to be the verse that we focus on in our reflection. Proverbs 28:5 and 29:27 portray the mutual intolerance of the righteous and the wicked. The assumption is that righteous folk understand and align themselves with the divine perspective on good and evil. Wicked folk and wickedness are abhorrent to God, and in this the righteous imitate God. God's enemies are their enemies, because God's enemies do evil. Two extreme currents compete in contemporary culture, and yet they seem to feed on one another in a strange symbiosis. On the one hand, there is a strong insistence, itself often dogmatic, on tolerance and avoiding dogmatic truth claims. On the other hand, there is a fanaticism in which one's position or the position of one's group is absolutely right, nothing is ambiguous, and divergent views should be destroyed. To the extent that such thinking is theologically aware, human thought is identified with God's thought, ignoring that even divine revelation must be interpreted by fallible humans. In such thinking, the end justifies the means, including violence. All balance is lost, public discourse is destroyed. Proverbs 29:27 offers a reproof to the first current rather than the second. And yet, unless this proverb is taken seriously, the second, fanatic current, will be given free play. Proverbs reminds us that we may not elevate moral ambiguity and religious mystery to the point of relativism, where the lines between right and wrong, good and evil, true and false are erased. At that point, tolerance is no longer a virtue, but moral indifference in the face of evil. It is an abandonment of the social responsibility to which the God of the Bible continually calls us. Christians cannot, for example, remain silent and inactive in the face of oppression or racial hate, whether in Nazi Europe or in America with its burning of black churches. Tolerance is not an adequate response to evil. The scriptures insist that in and through creation, God has shown all humans enough of God's own self and of good and evil that we are without excuse, from Romans. No one may say, we did not know. God has shown humans what is good, and what God requires is especially open to those who have the scriptures. And a little Peterson for you as he finishes off chapter 29. And a reminder that this whole section he entitles, If People Can't See What God is Doing. Yesterday, we talked about that sense of those without a vision, and Van Leeuwen got into that as well. It takes more than talk to keep workers in line. Mere words go in one ear and out the other. Observe the people who always talk before they think. Even simpletons are better off than they are. If you let people treat you like a doormat, you'll be quite forgotten in the end. Angry people stir up a lot of discord. The intemperate stir up trouble. Pride lands you flat on your face. Humility prepares you for honors. Befriend an outlaw and become an enemy to yourself. When the victims cry out, you'll be included in their curses if you're a coward to their cause in court. The fear of human opinion disables. Trusting in God protects you from that. Everyone tries to get help from the leader, but only God will give us justice. Good people can't stand the sight of deliberate evil. The wicked can't stand the sight of well-chosen goodness. And that's it for 29. I think I had mentioned in one of our earlier videos, so chapter 30, we're actually introduced to a skeptic figure, which is going to be fun. And and look forward to exploring that with you. So we'll be back with you tomorrow. Have a blessed day and see you next time.